Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions, my co-host Stacie from the Deep Dive TV podcast to talk about the original Quantum Leap, Season 5, Episode 6, titled Starlight, Starbright. The episode's description reads as follows. Sam leaps into a 79-year-old man who claims to have seen UFOs to save him from being committed and his grandson from dying of a drug overdose. The episode was written by Richard C. Oakey, and the episode was directed by Christopher Hibbler. The episode takes place on May 21st, 1966, and originally aired on October 27th, 1992. Before we go any further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a spoiler-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms this podcast is now available on, please follow, and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered both Quantum Leap related and otherwise. If you're already on our YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to the channel. All right, so Stacie, I have quite a few shout-outs this week.
All right, let's do it.
Now, normally I wouldn't be putting some of the shout-outs that I'm putting here, but there's no real place to put them. And a lot of people, some people commented on the Groundhog Day movie, the podcast that we did, and a lot of them happened to watch the Quantum Leap content as well.
All right.
So that's why I'm including those shout-outs here. First of all, Ashley Wright. Loved this film as a kid. Good editing with the clock bursting. And Bill jumping from the ledge, by the way, I don't claim any credit for that. That was actually a GIF or a GIF.
I was wondering what they were talking about.
Yeah, that was not me. But thank you anyway. One of my favorite... So Alpha says, one of my favorite movies. I remember my bone marrow transplant rotation. I had a poor patient who was stuck in the hospital for 3 months, stuck in the same room, looking at the dumpster behind the hospital, looking at the same dreary Minnesota winter skies. The medical students and I used to begin rounds at about 6:30 to 7 a.m., asking him the same questions and reviewing his unchanging lab results with him. Midway through my rotation, he told me he felt like Groundhog Day. The next day, every day after, we entered his room at 6:30 a.m. singing, "I Got You, Babe." That's a good story. I like that.
It is a good story.
If today, 2/2/25, ends up being a time loop where I emerge 10 years or 10,000 years later, I am in big trouble. For one thing, how will I remember any of my passwords?
I already don't remember my password.
Yeah, that's fair. And I haven't been stuck in a time loop forever. I would not remember how to conduct my life. I submit that Bill Connor will not remember how to function in his previous life. He will probably forget most of his meteorological knowledge. It is 5 a.m. PST. I am slightly drunk. And by the way, Alpha, friends don't let friends drive drunk. Or no, I'm sorry. Friends don't let friends drive is the saying. Okay, so... I like to sip bourbon as I finish my monthly patient dictations, billing, and paperwork. Shh, don't tell the WA medical board. Don't worry, your secret is safe with me, except for the fact that I am sharing it on a podcast. Probably time to go to sleep. Happy Groundhog Day, Dave. He also says that you were brilliant because of your theory about the bartender being the one who's controlling everything.
All right.
Which would kind of make it Quantum Leap like. Would somebody be like, Al the bartender?
I mean, I think that was what I said.
Is it what you said?
I think so.
Okay.
It's been a while since we recorded that.
Deb Burry says that she was watching Groundhog Day right that moment. So, yeah, enjoyable movie. I'm glad you were having fun with that. All right, so Lee Harvey Oswald, Ashley Wright. Don't know if you heard of Red Dwarf. It's a TV series in the UK, and one of their episodes is a Lee Harvey Oswald episode, but it's more of a comedy version. The main character of the show have a time machine device and land in the same room as LHO and end up killing him. This means JFK wasn't shot, and the president and is president for longer. As a result, America got worse as a nation and changed worldwide events with a ripple effect. The main character used the time travel device to get to future JFK and convince him to travel back with them to the floor above Lee Harvey Oswald's vantage point, and turns out to be the second shooter in his own assassination. Okay, that's really interesting.
Sure.
I of course have heard of Red Dwarf. I haven't seen it ever, but I did of course hear about the series. With Sam jumping into Lee Harvey Oswald at different stages of his life, does this mean different Lee Harvey Oswalds keep appearing in the Project Holding area? Yeah, it would seem to be. And it seems to me, like you said in that podcast, that would dramatically change his life, because I'm sure he would have some after effects of the fact that he kept losing time like that and kept appearing in the waiting room.
Right. It had to have had some adverse side effects.
Yep. So Kamikaze Kid. I had a random comment on a Kamikaze Kid video.
Kamikaze Kid.
You know what?
This is
tried.
This is our new Great Spontini. Is I gotta teach you how to say kamikaze.
Right. I swore I practiced it, and I still screwed it up. All right. So that episode, Holly Anderson commented. I'm the little girl that hit Sam with the Barbie at the kids' table for taking my spoon. And she does have some memories of that. One of the takes we were doing, the hair on the Barbie flew off when I hit him in the arm. Everyone on set laughed, and it was hard to keep a straight face when we were doing the shot. If you look close, I'm smiling in that scene. That was why.
Wow. That sounds like a good trivia question.
Yeah.
So whoever's listening to us right now, I might know who that might be. I think we might need to put that one in our list.
Probably.
Yeah. It would be very clear who's listening to us. Because that's the only way you're going to know that.
So, she also says, in the scene where Jason Priestley throws the pudding at him, they actually painted the pudding onto his glasses, but it really did look like they threw it when the scene cuts. Interesting stuff from Holly Anderson. I tried to converse with her further, but that was the last time she replied. I'd love to get her on. I don't know what else she might have done. Like if she went on to do other things, because she was not credited in that episode, so it was hard to track her down.
And because there's no IMDb for background actors, which we keep saying that's something we need in our lives. Is a comprehensive listing of background work.
Yes. There are other Holly Andersons on IMDb, but, you don't know could be
if any of them are her. Well, Holly, thank you so much for your comments, and we'd love to hear more from you.
All right, running for honor. English Hardman, you are viewing...
We're just all over the place, aren't we?
Yes.
Wow. It's been a busy comment week, apparently.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of random comments this week. English Hardman said, you are viewing this with today's mentality, therefore it will be odd and offensive. At the time, it was the norm. Not right, but it was the norm. Yet, I'm pretty sure we made similar comments during the podcast about that. That was made in a very different time. That the era that they are talking about was basically right smack dab in the middle of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So the time was very different during the time. And things are obviously very different now.
Yeah.
But of course, we still have issues. All right, so Killing Time. Finally, the episode that we did last week. Mimi says this was a good episode, a lot of inconsistencies. Thank you for the information about the deleted scene in the beginning of the episode. I like what we get Sam's birthday and his social security number. So in this episode. Yeah. I thought, okay, maybe she was talking about this episode. Actually, I don't even know.
I think she was talking about both.
Okay. Now Sam has to deal with identity theft as well as being lost in time. Okay, so in the next episode, we're in May of 1999. One of the things that he says when he is still under the drug's influence. I have things to say about that. That scene kind of played a little weirdly for... I'll
we have a lot to say about it. That's why we're here today.
Yes, is
to talk about it. So yes, we will get to this episode eventually, I hope.
Yeah, I promise we will. So just so you know, I'm struggling a little bit with my voice. I have this hideous cough. Yeah, but, I figured I'd throw that in there. I agree that they should have given us more information prior to the first scene of the episode, and she spelled Styles' name with a Y as well.
I'm telling you, it's got to be the Mandela effect. I've never seen it with an I, but it's an I.
Well, you looked into it.
I did. I looked a little further.
The shooting script had it with an I.
The shooting script had it with an I. IMDb has it with an I.
As well as AlicePlace.com, actually.
No, that's only because I told Brian to change it.
Well, I think that might have been because of my screw-up.
But it wasn't just in the script. It wasn't just in the episode guide that you wrote. It was in the entire page. Like all the old stuff that's been there had it with a Y as well.
Okay, maybe he corrected it after
He did. He corrected it after I told him to.
Okay, so prior to me grabbing that little blurb about the deleted scene, you probably corrected it there.
It was several days before we recorded.
Gotcha. So probably.
So yeah, what's been happening is as soon as I write my notes, I've been sending him little screenshots of the episode guide with all the typos and problems that I found in it. That's become our new system.
So Matt's book also spelled wrong.
So yes, I said in the podcast last week. Was this last week?
Yes.
Whenever we did it, that I hadn't had a chance to look and be on the mirror image, so I did do that. Matt spelled it with a Y.
Yep.
In every instance, there was no mention of any discrepancy on the spelling. And that's the type of thing I would expect Matt to have a whole paragraph about. And he didn't.
So, the conclusion I arrive at here is that me and Matt are right. Everybody else is wrong.
Including the script.
Including the script.
Yeah, the writer, you got it wrong. Sorry. And you know who got it wrong first? Julie Barrett.
Oh, yeah.
I looked it up in the A to Z, and it is wrong there. Of course, there's lots of typos in the A to Z because she wrote that in an era when we didn't have any resources to look this up. She just did it based on, like, actually watching episodes and listening.
Yeah.
So you'll find a lot of, like, weird kind of inconsistencies and typos and misspellings in the A to Z book. So I'm thinking it's possible that she started it, and all of us throughout our lives saw that. The listing
possible.
in the A to Z for styles, because the book is, an alphabetical listing, and there it is, Styles, and, it's possible that's where it started.
Well, I hope you...
Sorry, Julie, I am blaming you for this.
I hope you enjoyed that 10 minutes of I versus Y. But anyway, so Alpa says he has to disagree with you. If Sam had leapt into any other character, especially Carol, you forget that Leon Stiles would be a volatile psychopath who would have kept the sheriff on track to murder Leon. Call me a Belzerio bootlicker, but Sam definitely leapt into the best character to complete this mission. Okay, so first of all, Alpha, no name calling here, but Stacie, do you have a response?
I don't remember what I had to say about that in the first place.
Well, you thought that perhaps...
I'm really good at, like, arguing whatever point we're talking about
at the time,
to the other point. Like I have that debate mentality. Okay, so I'm taking this from a fresh take because I don't remember what we already said.
Your argument was that he leapt into the wrong person.
I mean, that's always the argument we try and come up with is who would be a better person, right? So Leon Stiles, what was his objective? To not die.
Basically. Yeah.
No, okay, the objective was to keep the cop from killing him. So being the cop would have been the best choice.
I'm not sure I agree with that because...
Well, because then it wouldn't have stuck.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I still think the deputy. I still think the living deputy outside that was in the cop's ear the whole time would have been the best choice.
Okay. Well, Alpha, we disagree, or you and Alpha disagree with it on
so,
this. But...
So Alpha is saying, that the real Leon Stiles would have, still been, like, crazy and wanted to kill people, but he didn't kill anybody that day, originally. Mm-hmm. In the original history, he did give himself up, and while he was leaving, he got shot. So gotcha. He wasn't going to kill Carol or Becky.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I think his point was more that if he was Leon Stiles, he would have acted like a crazy person, and he wouldn't have gotten Carol onto his side, and so on and so forth.
Right, but he would have walked out and could have just been arrested instead of shot, and that was
Perhaps. All right, so moving along from that.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk about some UFOs.
Well,
okay,
there's more. There's
okay,
more.
Keep going.
All right, so I'm definitely on the fence about Season 5. There are many awesome episodes this season.
Who
this is still Alpha.
Okay.
So I love The Tale of Two Sweeties, The Beast Within, and it's the only season where there is a leap into Washington, where I currently live. Hey, by the way, Alpha, where in Washington are you? Because my mom actually lives in Seattle. So.
Yeah, and I lived in Washington State for my whole childhood.
And there was a leap into my other home states, Wisconsin and Minnesota. To add my 2 cents to your discussion at the end, Bigfoot is not supernatural. He's real as almost anyone who's ever camped in the Cascade Mountains can tell you. In fact, most of us in the Pacific Northwest have seen him. Anything to say to that?
Oh, I never saw him.
Okay. All right. Oh.
And I did do lots of camping
as
a kid. I sure did.
All right. So one more thing that I want to get into before we actually start talking about this episode.
Okay.
All right. So you might have noticed that we have new tiers for basically supporting
for our membership.
Yeah. And I'm just going to briefly read these off. And if you guys feel like taking any of these deals, feel free to help support the channel this way. So for $4.99, you get early access. Basically, to some videos, you will get early access. For instance, if I post, if I
upload.
Produce and upload Quantum Leap video on Saturday, and you are a member in this tier, you will be able to see it on Saturday.
Instead of waiting
till Monday when it drops. Okay, so $9.99, you get on-screen credits for supporting. You will see your name on the screen, and for $24.99, you will get an assistant producer credit on Internet Movie Database. Yeah. So if you choose,
pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, if you choose to take this tier, leave a comment somewhere, or write us, or get in contact with us somehow to let us know exactly how you want your name to read on Internet Movie Database.
Right. So on Internet Movie Database, you do need a first and last name. We can't just put a screen name there.
All right. So finally, this episode. Stacie, your thoughts on this week's episode.
All right. Starlight, Star Bright. It's fun. I like the episode. I wouldn't say it's like a favorite of mine or anything like that. 100% they're taking the stance that aliens and UFOs are real, which I don't mind. But also it's kind of takes you out a little bit, you know? It's one of those ones that I like it more if you just look at it in isolation than if you look at it as part of the series.
It's kind of interesting here because I think the stories in this episode kind of conflict because there's the family drama and then there's this UFO stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. And at the end of the day, I'm left wondering what was the point of the leap? Just to meet aliens? Because it kind of feels like that's where we landed.
To save Tim, perhaps?
Well, I mean, that was just such a tiny, like, side bit, though. Like, it came up in the middle of the leap, and, like, within 2 minutes we resolved it, and he didn't leap.
I'm thinking maybe it should have been a bigger part of this episode.
It should have been. They should have spaced that timing out of that, I think, a little bit more. Because, yeah, he resolved that long time before he left, so that wasn't the thing.
So, it's kind of funny. This episode shows Sam having the least concern for his host than in any other leap. He does not seem to care at all that he could potentially get his host locked up.
Yeah, I mean, he was going to get locked up anyways.
Right.
He didn't seem to care about preventing that.
Right.
I guess is a better way to say that.
Because he was so obsessed with this UFO thing that he just kind of forgot that he leapt into a person whose life he's affecting.
He was being Sam. He was being a scientist. It's similar to the Curse of Tahotep.
Yes.
Where he was like, I can be part of this amazing discovery.
Right. We're seeing the obsessive side of Sam Beckett.
Yes.
That we don't always get to see. But this is the guy.
The academic side, you know.
This is the guy that ended up creating Project Quantum Leap in the first place.
Right.
And made that happen. All right, do you have anything else to say before diving in?
Well, we were talking about coming up with a list of all the paranormal stuff. You want to do that now or at the end?
Might as well do it now.
Okay. So I put together a list. Did you put together a list?
I did not.
Okay, so let's hope my list is
comprehensive.
I'm not positive. Okay, so we had a Portrait for Troyan.
Yes,
Ghosts. And they take the stance of, yes, ghosts are real. The Halloween episode, who I will not name, we meet the devil. Now, they leave that one open to interpretation. Yeah, they don't take a solid stance on that.
That one's a little bit more ambiguous.
Yeah. We have a little miracle where we have that star displaying at the end.
Yep.
Something made that happen. It wasn't Quantum Leap. So I'm going to go ahead and list that as, something unexplained happened there.
Okay.
Whether it was Al the bartender, I don't know. Ghost ship, we talked about the Bermuda Triangle.
Right.
And I say that they confirm something timey-wimey happened there because of their talk about the ship that picked him up having disappeared decades earlier. So I don't know if they necessarily confirmed, like, what that is, but they confirmed something is happening in the triangle, I think is the stance they took.
That's fair.
It's a Wonderful Leap.
Yes.
Angels. And I feel like they definitely take the stance that angels are real in that episode. As well as, don't we have a book about angels, too?
Angels Unaware.
Are there angels in that, or is that just about Al? I forget.
I think that was just Al and Angels Unaware. That was actually more about Another Mother, the sequel to that.
Yeah. Isn't there something like does Angelita come back?
Oh
somewhere?
yeah. I don't know if it was that book or
somewhere.
Yeah. In
the mythos, right? We revisit Angela and angels, I think. Yeah. All right. Next, I have the Curse of Tahotep. Where
definitely takes a stance that
we see the mummy come to life. The mummy's curse, they're saying it's real. The mummy came to life and was walking around. They show it. Then we have, of course, this episode, Starlight, Starbright, UFOs. Definitely they're saying that's real. Blood Moon, vampires.
Yeah, we're a little more ambiguous about that one too.
They leave that one open to interpretation. For the most part, they debunk it and are like, nah, they're not. But then there's like these couple little moments that's like, oh, maybe one of them was.
Right.
Yeah. The Beast Within.
Which
Bigfoot.
Alpha just discredited as far as he's concerned. That's not supernatural.
Well, he's saying it's not supernatural, not that it's not real. He's saying it is real.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same thing, right? I say we're confirming it's real.
What's this list about again?
Where we were talking about like all the times that they took a stance on if this stuff is real or not.
Okay. So
does this stuff exist in Sam Beckett's world?
Right. So in this case, Alpa's point would be that it's not like supernatural. It's more.
He's saying it shouldn't even be on our list because
Right,
it's just a normal thing.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, no, it's one of these. It falls in this category, okay, of mythos here.
Okay.
But Quantum Leap is saying yes, Bigfoot's real.
Yep.
And they show him in the episode. And the only other one I have is from a book, Loch Ness Leap.
Yep.
And I don't remember where they landed on that because I read that book like 30 years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago.
I was 13 probably when that book
Whenever
came out.
it came out is when I read it.
Right.
20 something years ago, I'm going to guess. I don't remember if they take the stance of Nessie is real or not, but I know it comes up.
Yep. All right. Anything else to say before diving in?
That's my list. Did I miss any? You guys let me know.
Yeah, it sounds pretty comprehensive to me. Alpa's going to argue about the beast within again, but that's okay. So Sam leaps in, sees a glowing, colorful object in the sky, obviously a UFO. Sam marvels at the object in the sky, and Sam calls to it and says, oh boy. Credits. After the credits, Sam is still calling to the sky when the spaceship takes off as he begs for it to come back. A teenage kid shows up at this point, calling him Pops. Sam rambles, and not for the first time it seems. The kid is Tim, played by Morgan Weiser. 27 credits for him, including Space Above and Beyond, which he was a regular. That was a show produced by Glenn Morgan and James Wong. Creative forces on the X-Files. And what's really funny to me is that Morgan Weiser also played Lee Harvey Oswald on the X-Files.
Yes, I have that on my list. He also was in one episode of NCIS and an episode of Charmed.
Yes. Tim tries to get him to come home, but the cops catch up to him. The cops take him home. Sam's host's son gives him the riot act. He's John, played by Guy Boyd, 135 credits for him, including Foxcatcher, Taking Chance, and an episode of Bones.
He was in The Girl from Plainville, which was a documentary about a killer, an episode of Beverly Hills 90210, and Sister Act. And the cop, Officer Millardy, he was played by Joshua Cox. He was in 12 episodes of General Hospital, one episode of Melrose Place, and the 2009 Last House on the Left.
Oh, okay. Guy Boyd, by the way, I kind of find his delivery at times in this episode a little bit weird. I wasn't really totally convinced by his performance, but I don't know if that's, I don't know what kind of actor he is. He did appear in 135 credits. This is the only thing I can really point out that I've actually seen him in. I just didn't find him that convincing in this episode. But, yeah, so they're worried about him, and this apparently is an ongoing thing. His dad wants...
It's such an ongoing thing that they literally called the police. Because the cops didn't just pick them up at random. Like, they weren't doing anything wrong. They were just hanging out in the woods. So, for the cops to have taken them home, it must mean that John and his wife called the police because Dad wandered away. And I find that really bizarre. Because obviously he was easy to find. Tim found him very easily.
Right, so they knew where he was going.
Why are they calling the police?
Right. So his dad wants to know about his walk, and I don't think his dad is all that sincere here. He wants to hear the crazy things that is going to come out of his mouth. His grandson, Tim, glares at him, indicating not to say anything. His wife, I don't know, I think she's in the scene, is played by Anna Lockhart, 159 credits for her, including the time traveler's wife, which I think is something that eventually we'll probably cover.
Maybe.
It's timey-wimey.
Yeah. It can go on the list. We got a big list.
Parkland, which, again, dealt with the JFK assassination, the aftermath of that specifically. And Tom Welling, who played Clark Kent in Smallville, was in that. 8 episodes of The West Wing.
She was also in 98 episodes of Chicago Fire and 2 episodes of The Lying Game. And we do get a shot of the mirror image in this scene as well. Max's mirror image is played by Douglas Stark. He was in 1 episode of Lois and Clark and an episode of Beverly Hills 90210.
Sweet. Sam is taken up to his room, and Tim congratulates him for not saying anything. Sam asks him if his dad knew what happened out there. Tim says he hasn't stopped talking about spaceships for months now. Tim hasn't seen anything thus far. Tim tells him to go to sleep and give it a rest because he can't keep fishing him out of the woods. Sam tells him that he's a good kid before he leaves. He looks out the window and says he knows that there's something out there.
Yeah, he's talking to the aliens. He goes, I know you're out there. So this is where Sam Beckett has taken over, and he doesn't give a crap about the Stoddard family in this moment. He's just very concerned about those aliens.
On the wall is plenty of UFO-related material, and Al appears, and I didn't take note of when he appeared. But he's looking at a scrapbook, which has newspaper clippings, and Sam tells him about the UFO. Al knows all about it because Max has been telling him about it while in the future. In 1999, Al thinks Sam is mixing personalities with his host. Sam wants to prove the existence of aliens and go look for evidence. No, this is not him mixing memories with his host. This is very much Sam Beckett.
Yeah, he saw it. I mean, we saw it. We saw him see it. But Al is convinced that he didn't see anything. He just got some kind of memory of what Max thinks.
Al thinks the only thing he's going to prove is that Max is crazy and he's going to end up in a mental hospital. Al gives the odds of him being there to keep him out of the hospital at 78.1%. That's pretty low.
It's pretty low for a what are we here to do?
Sam asks about the odds of proving the existence of aliens, and he gets a 73%.
73.3?
I gotta ask, why would God, time, or fate care about Sam Beckett proving the existence of aliens?
I mean, it's a big deal.
It is, but why would God, time, or fate care about
Why
that?
do they care about anything they care about?
I mean,
you never know what this could mean for the future, right? It could
Okay.
be a big deal. It could be important. They could be helpful or hurtful, or who knows? Because we confirm they exist. Max goes with them, but we never hear anything about them again. What happens about it?
Maybe the sequel to this episode is actually Independence Day. All right, so Al tells him he's not being objective. He's very much not. Sam tells him that a great scientist is never objective. Sam thinks of how amazing it would be to prove time travel can work and discover that there's life on another planet at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but...
To do both.
Yeah, to do both in one lifetime.
To have both of those accomplishments under his belt. Not that he'd get credit for it or anything.
Right. Basically, Max Stoddard would get credit for it. His dad watches him, and tells his wife that Sam is getting
not
worse.
His dad. His son.
Oh, yeah. His dad
John.
His dad is probably dead.
John and Ava are listening to the door. And they're hearing, what they're hearing is Max talking to himself very feverishly.
Yeah.
It's not looking good.
No. The next morning, Sam has breakfast. Tim and his dad have a fight about going to college. Tim wants to be a musician, whereas his dad wants something better for his son. Sam tries to interject, but gets shut down. Tim leaves the table in anger.
A couple things here. One is that we learned during this conversation that Max left Ireland when he was a teenager to escape the potato famine. The history there is off by 30 or 40 years.
Okay.
The potato famine happened in the 1860s. This man is not old enough to have been there for that as a teenager. So maybe he's already a time traveler. I don't know.
Right, maybe. You never know.
The other thing is, to cut to this scene, we got our first shot of the town, and we see this kind of still image a lot throughout the episode with the town, and there's water, and there's a bridge. Do you know the shot I'm talking about?
Yes.
So that's actually a shot of Astoria, Oregon, according to Al's place, which I wanted to bring up because that's some place I know very well, because I used to live in Washington. This was right over the bridge. And it's actually where Kindergarten Cop was shot.
Oh, really?
At Astor Elementary School in Astoria. And I remember very clearly when they were filming that movie, there was an ad in the newspaper. They were looking for kids to be background actors. And, I should have done it.
You should have.
I could have been in Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah, you could have.
But I didn't. But I remember my parents reading that ad that they were looking for kids to be in the movie. And it was like, nobody knew that was going to be a big deal, but it was because it ended up being Kindergarten Cop.
You know what? That sounds like a wrong that Sam should correct. You should go back in time and make sure you're in there.
And that was Astoria, so that's where this picture is actually of, is Astoria. My dentist was in Astoria.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so Sam and his dad continue the conversation before he goes to work. Al shows up and says, it's good, he's sounding sane. And Sam testily replies, I am sane. His dad responds, thinking he's talking to him. Dad, I never said you were insane. Sam reveals he knows he's going to put him in the hospital. His dad is impressed about his hearing. His hearing has not gotten better.
He's saying his dad. This is not his dad.
Yep, that's in my notes all the way through. John is impressed with his hearing. Anyway, moving on. He points out he gave his son plenty of chances back in the day, and he talks his son into giving him one more. His son leaves, and Sam makes a promise not to go running to the woods the minute he's gone.
And I'm surprised that's not exactly what he did.
Yeah, exactly. So he keeps his promise. Sort of.
He doesn't go to the woods.
Right.
He just goes and takes a walk with Al and ends up going to the library instead.
Yep. He wants Ziggy's help to prove Max's theory about UFO sightings. He argues with Al in public, which is not helping his case.
Yeah, no, he's looking very, very crazy. Like, we're completely abandoning hide in the bathroom or go around a corner. We're just on the street in the middle of this very small town screaming at ourselves about UFOs.
And crucially, he's being witnessed by a pair of agents watching Sam from a distance who are part of a project that's investigating this issue. The agents, Dr. Hardy, is played by H. Richard Green, 107 credits for him, including 6 episodes of Mad Men, 6 episodes of The West Wing, and an episode of Early Edition.
He also was in 1 episode of The Fosters and Armageddon.
Yes. Major Meadows is played by Michael McGuire, 10 credits for him, including Nowhere Man. A very short-lived series, but it is a very good series.
You have 1 episode of that?
And Star Trek Voyager.
Correct. 1 episode of that as well.
Al thinks it doesn't matter. He's here to save Max, not to prove the existence of aliens. Sam wants to do both, and I have a funny feeling if he's given the choice, he's going to choose proving aliens exist over Max at this point.
Yeah. Because he's obviously not doing Max any favors in this moment.
No. Meanwhile, the men in the car argue about whether Sam is a reliable informant. They suggest that perhaps Sam would be safer in a state-run facility after all.
Yeah, which is where they kind of concoct this idea of what they're going to do, which makes me really wonder what exactly did happen in the original history. Like, we're told he was committed, but if really he was just kind of taken by these government agents, then what happened to him?
Did they just, kill him?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
What exactly was supposed to happen here?
Right.
If the family didn't interject it and come save him, which is what would have happened in the original history.
Sam catches Tim preparing to run away. Sam suggests he can go to college in New York and to get a job playing the guitar, and he convinces Tim to sell the idea to his dad. He plays a song for Tim and is walked in by his son, who is not impressed. And hey, that's the first time I actually had his son in there instead of his dad.
Nice. Yeah, Tim was impressed by this guitar playing.
Because, it's all crazy.
John was not. So he was teaching him Jimi Hendrix. So apparently he hasn't heard about Jimi Hendrix yet. And Sam was like, within a year you're going to get to hear him at Woodstock, which is wrong. It's 1966. Woodstock is not happening within the year. A couple years out still on that. So I don't know if Sam's memory is off on that, or I don't know. Did the timeline happen differently in Sam's world, where Woodstock happened earlier?
Maybe. And also, this kind of seems like a Back to the Future reference of sorts, a subtle one, where, he's playing this crazy song that nobody's heard in the 1960s, whereas Michael J. Fox is on stage playing this crazy song, and everybody's looking at him like, what the heck? When in the future, when Marty is from, anyway.
Your kids are going to love it.
Yes. Okay, so, at dinner, Tim, with Sam's help, tries to sell his dad on Sam's college idea, but his dad shuts the idea down despite his mom's support. Things go downhill fast, and Tim ends up running off. Al shows up as Tim runs off. He has Al run a trace on Tim's future. He plays for a bit, but dies of a drug overdose.
Yeah, and why didn't we look that up in the first place?
Yeah, that'd be a good thing to do. This prompts Sam to run after Tim. Sam finds Tim, who's very angry, and tries to talk him out of running away. Al says that this is his second objective, to stop Tim from overdosing. This should seem like more of his first objective, but whatever.
Yeah, because we were only at, 78% that he's trying to keep Max out of the hospital.
Right. They probably didn't even check on this scenario.
Right, because we didn't even know that this kid was going to die, in his early 20s. I mean, come on. This feels like more of a pressing issue.
Right. Sam gives him the anti-drug talk. He talks about the number of musicians who died because of drugs, and he starts bringing up a bunch of musicians, some who haven't happened yet. They're not even alive yet.
Right. Well, I think they're alive.
Well, they're alive, but they're not famous
they're not
yet.
famous yet. And he's like, remember these names. And it works. Very quickly, we resolve this situation. Way quicker than we've ever resolved a situation, because the show would be very boring if all it took was, having one conversation and we fix everything.
Yep. So they return home, and Dr. Hardy and the soldier guy, Major
Meadows,
who was watching Sam earlier, come here to talk to him.
And they say they're with the Air Force Intelligence.
They are here to talk to Sam about what he witnessed. Al says that Ziggy thinks these guys are big-time nozzles and not to say anything to them. And yet, Sam does not listen to Al whatsoever.
Right, because he thinks he's here to prove aliens exist, and who better to, convince than the Air Force.
He asks them about Project Blue Book, which is classified information, but the doctor says if his info checks out, they can give him a summary, perhaps. Al continues to tell Sam not to trust him, but Sam continues not to listen, and they arrange to meet tomorrow.
Yeah.
The family is excited. Sam's son shows the pair out, but they reveal that they were lying and suggested they could bring him to a home instead after his son gets angry at them for leading Sam on.
Okay, so yeah, they're the one, well, he already said he wanted to have him committed, right? And now these guys are like, yeah, we don't really want to talk to him. He's no use, but we just thought we'd help give you an excuse to get him out of the house so you can bring him to the hospital. What are these guys trying to do exactly? Like, they do want to talk to him, but they don't want the family to know they're talking to him. It makes me think they are going to disappear him after that.
Yeah, basically kill him afterwards.
I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. If you want to talk to him, just freaking talk to him. He's willing to talk. Right. Why do we need to go through all this and strap him in a bed in a hospital to get him to talk? He wants to talk to you.
Well, if he was disappeared in the original timeline, why wasn't that noted in the history?
Right.
Why didn't Al say, oh, he was committed, and then he
once they're done with him, they just leave him committed to the hospital?
Maybe.
But why? Why are we going through all of that to do this?
I don't know.
And why are we lying to the family about it and telling them we don't need to talk to him? It's just, I don't follow the logic of what's happening here.
Al and Sam talk. Ziggy says that the data is inconclusive, but Al has a bad feeling. They go through the UFO sightings. Sam thinks there's a pattern, and Ziggy concurs.
Yeah, the pattern is every 47.51 Earth months there's a sighting, and there's always a second sighting 3 or 4 days after the first.
Sam excitedly says the aliens are coming back.
And how do you know this wasn't the second sighting?
Right, yeah.
This could have been the second one this month. You don't know that.
Witnessing this side of the conversation is Tim. The next morning, Sam is led to a hospital. He catches on to where he's really going and is dragged in, while his dad watches upset. Sam is dragged into a room, tied down. The government officials reveal themselves. They prepare to inject him with truth serum, and Sam gives them a story of what he saw. And they end up injecting him anyway.
Yeah, they're like, well, just to be sure, let's make sure you're telling the truth. Again, it's all very strange. Like, what? Does it sound like he's lying?
Right.
He's describing the thing, he's giving measurements. Like, what are we trying to get out of him?
I don't know. So his dad and Tim talk, or his son and Tim talk. Tim reveals that he had to do what he just did. And, Tim basically says that he agrees with what his father did. He saw Sam talking to himself.
Right,
he knows
so
that,
he's on his dad's side here. And he's like, I hope I never have to bring you here one
day. Then they notice the government's car. And they go to investigate.
Yeah, now here's my question there. Why did that not happen the first time?
I'm not sure that he was abducted in the first timeline.
Why wouldn't he have been?
Maybe he was just committed and, I don't know.
But these guys were here already. They were already watching him. They already wanted to talk to him. The real Max definitely would have wanted to talk, just like Sam did. What did Sam do to change anything?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because I feel like this should have played out exactly the same way if Max was here.
I mean, maybe he wouldn't have been talking to himself, maybe in public. Maybe he wouldn't have stopped him from running away, and maybe, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, the talking to himself in public is what these guys first witnessed. But they already, had him on the radar in order to see him talking to himself, so they still would have wanted to talk to him.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know. But, Tim recognizes the car. Sam didn't do anything.
Right.
To make them come help.
Nope. Sam starts to slowly reveal who he actually is. Sam Beckett of the Project Quantum Wave, while Al watches nervously. Okay, here's my problem. First of all, truth serum doesn't work like this. This is a common trope in television and movies. Truth serum does not work like this. It doesn't immediately have you reveal all your secrets. It acts more like alcohol, kind of, where it just lowers your inhibition so you're more free to talk. That's not my main problem. My main problem is he's remembering the date. Yeah.
So they say,
from the
who
project?
Are you, Dr. Sam Beckett? Where are you at right now? New Mexico.
Right.
Which, well, that's a whole argument in and of itself.
Right.
Why would he say that?
Well, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And then he says, what's the date? And he says May 1st, 1999.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how would he know the date at the project,
exactly.
for starters? Even if, like, maybe he's remembering the last date from when he was there, which would be the week back. That day's incorrect, as we've talked about
that
before.
date's in the future.
I'm just confused why he's not talking about what he's doing in the past, not what's going on at the project.
Right. He has no memory of what's going on.
Right.
With the
Yeah. And his brain is Swiss cheese, and you know, I can make the argument that perhaps the memories aren't gone; they're just in his subconscious somewhere, and he can maybe gain access to it with this drug. But still, why would he remember being at the project?
Right.
When he hasn't been at the project.
He hasn't been at the project really in years, other than that one day. He wouldn't know the date. You know, it's not like Al told him the date earlier in the day. Mm-hmm. Unless that was a cut from the script somewhere.
Yeah.
The fact that he knows the date and says he's in New Mexico is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And then Al says to Cushy, if I should suddenly pop out of existence, I want to leave everything to my first wife, Beth. Here's the problem with that, Al. If you pop out of existence, so do your belongings.
That's true.
There's nothing left to leave if you don't exist.
Well, I mean, maybe he's not saying he's literally going to wink out of existence, just that he's not going to be a part of this project anymore. I don't know.
But then it was silly.
Yeah. So Sam's son comes in with a shotgun.
Oh, wait, before that, he tells a lot more information. He gives his birth date, 8853, and they debate whether that means he's 13 or 113. His father's and mother's full names, John Samuel Beckett and Thelma Louise Beckett. He gives his social security number and his Umbra clearance number, which freaks the guys out because they know that's an operative word, and he shouldn't know even the name Umbra.
Right. And they begin to ask him, why do you need a clearance number? He starts talking about his time travel project. Then
that's when John and Tim come in. They pretend to be an orderly, and they come in with a rifle. How'd they even get in this hospital carrying that big rifle to get all the way to this dude's door?
Well, you don't walk into a hospital with a big rifle, ever. Anyway, so they run into the woods, led by Al. Sam is taking them to the spot where the UFO is supposed to come, and they hide from the agents. Sam asks advice from Al. Al says he doesn't know. We are way outside the original history now. Sam gives himself up, but then his dad stands up and points a shotgun at the agents.
His son.
Yes. For the final time, I'm going to make that mistake. Just then, everything lights up. The UFO returns. Everybody sees it.
Great timing.
Yeah. Hop on board, Sam, Al says. Max is going to take the ride of his life. As he walks towards the UFO, Sam ends up weeping. And that is where the episode ends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a lot of problems, I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of logic problems and, what the heck is happening in this episode. And the whole point was they wanted to say aliens are here.
Right.
That was the whole point.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of silly. But it's fun at the same time if you don't look at it too closely.
It is a silly episode, but yeah, it's a fun episode to watch. Next week, this was the last episode that I actually have notes for because I wrote them for Alice Plays Quantum Leap fanside. But the one we're actually going to cover is the first Evil Leaper episode.
The first Evil Leaper episode is next. Deliver us from evil. So at the end of this episode, Sam leapt into Jimmy for the second time.
Yes.
He recognizes Frank. He recognizes Jimmy in the mirror, and he is very excited to be back in their lives. He shouldn't be, because he should know if he's there, that means something bad's happening.
Right, yeah.
But he's very excited about it.
Yeah, I'm very interested to talk about this episode, because it's not without controversies within the fandom.
Yeah.
I think this is where, for Season 5, for a lot of people, starts going off the rails completely.
Sure. I personally don't love the Evil Leaper trilogy, but I like this one. I like revisiting the characters, and out of the three of them, this is the only one that, I like as an episode. The other two Evil Leapers, I don't care about those. But this one, I like this episode.
All right.
Especially because it leads us into trilogy.
Yes.
Which is my sweet spot.
So
if anybody doesn't know that, you need to pay better attention.
Yes. So we got some exciting episodes coming up to talk about, that's for sure. A lot of interesting stuff to talk about.
A lot of good stuff happening. Good and crazy stuff.
I have plenty of things to make fun of Sam for in the next episode. Yeah, so we got some stuff to talk about. That'll be next week, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Who knows anymore? Time doesn't exist anymore, I don't think.
Yep. We're just leaping around in time. All right, we'd like to hear from you. Stacie reached out.
I can reach out on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TV and Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can join the Core Productions membership starting at 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribe to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions, signing off.